Now I love this type of playing, but I had to look up what it's actually called because I'm no expert on all the kind of the technical names, the jargon of many of the guitar techniques that there are. But apparently it's called arpeggiating playing. But I'm just going to stick to what I've always called it, picking single strings. Now, if you'll pardon the pun, I picked up this type of playing, this picking single strings technique, from 4 particular songs. 2 from the Stones, Lady Jane and As Tears Go By. My sweet Lady Jane, when I see you again. It is the evening of the day. One from The Who, Behind Blue Eyes, from Who's Next, which I think is probably their best album. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man, behind blue eyes. And one from the Kinks, Ray Davies' Magnum, or Magnus, or Magnum, or whatever, opus called Shangri-La from Arthur. Probably the best concept album ever, if you ask me. Now that you've found your paradise, this is your kingdom to command. You can go outside and polish your car, or sit by the fire in your Shangri-La. Here's your Now, I'm not going to show you how to play those particular songs, but I am going to show you the kind of the basic technique to get you playing that kind of song. And you know, because I think learning the basics, the fundamentals of anything, whether it's guitar playing or learning a language, I think getting the basics down is so important. And you know, once you've got those right, then you can take it up a level and really jazz up your playing. So what's the difference between this and strumming? Well, strumming is taking a chord and hitting everything, or at least all the strings that you're supposed to hit. So for example, here's a simple chord progression. This is strumming, and of course you can change your emphasis. But then this picking single strings technique is just exactly what it says. You know, you pick a single string in a chord. Just like this. But the question is, which strings do you pick? Terrific question, actually. So let's get into that. So we're going to look at major chords first, and we're going to look at them in this particular order. First, we're going to look at 6-string chords, E and G. Next, we're going to look at 5-string chords. That's going to be A and C. And then finally, we're going to look at 4-string chords, and that's going to be D and F. And you'll see why I'm looking at them in that order. And we'll come back a little later to look at minor chords, so don't go away. So we're going to start with the 6-string chords. That's G major and E major. And they're 6-string chords because you're playing all 6 strings. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're playing all the strings. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the lowest note that you can play. And that's going to be on the G chord, that's going to be the 6th string, and the E chord, the 6th string. And what we'll do, well, as for the plectrum, well, how do we hold it? Now there's another good question. Let's talk about that first before we go into the pattern. Now, when I started playing the guitar many years ago, I used to hold the plectrum like this here, and like that there, and the thumb at the back. But I found that to be a pretty rubbish way of holding it. But then one day, whilst watching Channel 4's The Tube, I saw the Kinks play for the first time, and I saw Dave Davies holding the plectrum, and I thought, hang on, that looks like a good way of playing it. And yeah, so he's got his finger, his first finger is kind of flattened like this here, and his thumb is like that there. I hope you can see that. This seemed like a very good way of playing it. If it works for Dave Davies, it should work for me. The other thing is, watch out, don't hold it too tightly. Okay, you don't want to be pressing, because you end up getting this kind of horrible sound. And also don't hold it too loosely, because you'll end up, well, the plectrum usually falls into your sound hole there, or just flies away. Now that's out of the way, let's get back to this pattern. And we're going to split the pattern up into two parts, the first half of the bar and the second half of the bar. And we're starting off with the 6-string chords, and that is E major and G major, because you play all the strings in those chords. Now, this is in 4/4, and in the first half of the bar, you're going to be playing 2 beats of the bar. But it's not strictly 2 beats, you're going to be playing 1 and 2 and 3. No, that's a bit too much. 1 and 2 and. So, if we look at the G chord, 1 and 2 and is the first 4 strings. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. The second half of the bar, you'll be playing 3 and 4 and. Now this time you're starting on the highest strings, okay? And the highest strings we'll be starting on the first string here, and then you will be going up. So you'll be playing 3 and 4 and. 3 and 4 and. There's something else you need to think about, is the direction of your playing, your picking hand, all right? So on the first 2 beats of the bar, you're going down. 1 and 2 and then you skip over, go to the first string and come up. 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So now let's look at this for the E major chord. Now your picking hand is going to play exactly the same string. The first half of the bar, 1 and 2 and, you'll be going down. The second half of the bar, you're going to be going up, starting on the highest string, which is string 1, 3 and 4 and. So together it will sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And let's do the 2 chords together. Let's play E and G major. And all you'll see is that this changes, but your picking hand doesn't change. It will play the same pattern all the way through. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 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 One and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, one thing you're probably immediately gonna notice is that you're gonna need good control over your picking hand. Now, for the position itself, I'm keeping my hand pretty close to the guitar. And it doesn't matter which chord I'm playing, whether it's E, G, C, D, whatever. And now I've got this part of my hand on this part of the guitar here. I think they're called, what are they? Pegs, I think. As I said, I'm no expert on the jargon. Keeping it here, but you've got to be a little bit careful, because if you have it too close and you're on the strings, you're going to mute the sound. So, you know, we want this. We want the strings ringing out. But if you're touching the strings lightly, you're going to get a muted sound, which might sound good, but for this, we want a ringing sound. Now, the other thing is, I'm also keeping these three fingers here slightly raised, away from the strings. Not in a ball like this, not like a fist. And I'm kind of imagining myself at Harrods, you know, drinking a nice cup of tea, because it's like this, you know, you've got the position as if you were holding a nice cup like so, right? And in fact, I quite like that analogy. And it helps to remember that, so that you do keep your fingers away and they're not interfering with the strings. T, quite a fancy one now. So we just talked about how to hold the plectrum, 6-string chords, hand control and position. Now we're going to look at the 5-string chords. 5-string chords are A and C, A major and C major, and they're 5-string chords because you only play 5 strings. And now we're going to pretty much do the same thing again. The pattern is going to be split into 2 halves. You've got the first half of the bar, 1 and 2 and, where you're going to go down, but starting on the 5th string. 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. And it doesn't matter if it's A or C, you'll start on the 5th string. The second half of the pattern will be the second half of the bar, and 3 and 4 and, where you'll start on the highest string, which will again be the top string, the E string, and you'll be going upwards. So for the A chord, 3 and 4 and. For the C chord, 3 and 4 and. And of course, let's put it together and you'll hear how it sounds. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And you'll see again that only the fretting hand is changing. My picking hand is doing exactly the same. If you're getting value out of this single string picking guitar lesson, also called guitar arpeggios, then why not give us a like? In fact, give yourself a like as well for working really hard on your guitar playing too. So we've looked at 6-string chords, we've looked at 5-string chords. Now it's time to look at the 4-string chords, and that's D major and F major. And this one here is slightly different though, slightly different. Because if I put on the D chord, we're going to start, as always, on the lowest string that you can play. And this is going to be the open D string. This is going to be the 4th string. Okay, now we will do the same thing. We'll go down 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. And we're now at the lowest, or sorry, the highest string, which is this top E string here. There's nowhere else we can go. And when we come back to play 3 and 4 and, we play the exact same strings. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the same will apply to the F major chord. And this is the F major chord. This is the, I reckon this is the super simple version of the F major chord. We're doing this little bar, a little mini bar here. And we are starting again on the 4th string, which is the lowest string that we can play. And it'll go like this. No, it won't. It'll go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So just playing those two chords together will sound something like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're going to put these chords together, and what we're going to do is we're going to play a simple chord progression. And the chord progression we're going to use is the intro to the Stones' As Tears Go By. And this is not exactly the same as the record. This is a very basic pattern. We'll go around this progression a couple of times, so please join in. And I think this is a really great little chord progression because it gives you a chance to practice the 6th string chord, the 5th string chord and the 4th string chord pattern together. Because for the 6th string you've got G, for the 5th string you've got A and C major chords, and for the 4th string you've got a D major chord there as well. And you can see the pattern on the, the chord progression on the screen right now. So let's go through this together a couple of times. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Sounds pretty good, that, even though it's just a very basic version, a very basic single string picking pattern. Before we go on to the minor chords, now that you've got the patterns for the 6th string chords, the 5th string chords and the 4th string chords, what I recommend you do is practice, practice, practice. 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day. And all you need to do, you don't need a specific song or a specific chord progression or anything. Just play the chords. Now, you can play the chords a bar of the E, a bar of the G, a bar of the A, a bar of the C, a bar of the D, the bar of the F. So 2 bars of the 6th string chords, 2 bars of the 5th string chords, and 2 bars of the 4th string chords. So putting it together like this. Just putting them all together. It doesn't matter about whether they sound a bit weird or what, or whatever. Just play them. Practice it. You know, practice while can't speak now. Practice while you're watching TV. Practice, you know, after you've had breakfast. You know, practice as often as you can, really, because it's better than doom scrolling. So we've looked at 6th string, 5th string, 4th string major chords, but what about minor chords? I hear you cry. How do you play these guitar arpeggio patterns, the single string picking pattern with minor chords? Any ideas? Well, the thing is, it's exactly the same, right? Exactly the same. But obviously, the chords are minor. And we're only going to focus on the 3 open minor chords. And they are E minor, A minor and D minor. Those are the three open minor chords. So for the E minor chord, it's a 6-string chord, play exactly the same. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. A minor, 5-string chord, so you're going to start on the 5th string and off we go again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then we have, lastly, we have D minor, 4-string chord, do exactly the same. Start on the 4th string, in this case the open D, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's try a complete chord progression using major chords and minor chords. And the progression we're going to use is the complete progression to As Tears Go By. And you can see the progression on the screen. It uses mostly major chords, but there's an E minor chord thrown in too. So I'm going to pick this to demonstrate it, but you know, play along, okay? And what would be great is if you play along with me, stop the video, rewind it, play along again and do it over and over again. And it's got all the patterns. It's got 6-string, 5-string chords, 4-string chords, and of course minor chords too. So it's a really good little workout for you to get started on this guitar arpeggio pattern, these single string picking patterns. So we'll start with the intro and then go into one verse of this song. And I'll keep a count while I play the intro, just to kind of get you used to that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 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 Now, doesn't that sound beautiful? Even a really simple single string picking pattern like that, something just fell over behind me. Even a single string picking pattern like that makes a chord progression sound so beautiful. Click on the link here and play along to the Rolling Stones As Tears Go By using this fantastic single string picking technique. And while you're at it, why not give me a like and a subscribe. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. Cheers. And don't forget, hold your plectrum like this.